In my opinion, the best close quarters combat weapon in Battlefield 6 as of the beta is the SGX. Even for a relatively below average player like myself, I was able to get lots of kills with it, which otherwise with other weapons I probably would have been much worse. I mean, from experience. And in this video I'm going to share with you my loadout, which I think is the best for that weapon, so you can do well with it as well. Again, this is for close quarters combat. This is an SMG. There are two SMGs, one which is more optimized for mid-range, kind of more versatile. The other one is for close range combat. And this is quite significant difference compared to the other weapons, so this is why I recommend this one above all for close quarters combat. So this is the weapon, SGX. This is the signature weapon for the engineer, which if you use it with engineer, you get improved hip fire control, which is also good, but again, it's not a must. You can choose, for example, a top accessory that also improved or further improved the hip accuracy. So if you find yourself shooting more from the hip, you can actually pick one of those, especially the second one, which is quite significant difference. I'll show the difference in a moment, how it actually looks like. In terms of scope, depends, right? Depends on the map. If you find yourself more in mid-range or sticking to the group, you might want to go with something like 1.5 or 2. But in certain maps where you need to rush and you're very close to opponents, especially in buildings and stuff, you might want to go with the one-time zoom. This is the one that I'm actually using for most of the runs. Regarding muzzles, I recommend going with the compensated brake, which reduces the recoil and improves the remaining recoil. I also found, by the way, great success in some of the maps and modes going with silencer. Regarding barrel, I recommend going with the 8-inch one for improved aiming speed and projectile velocity. But this is a place where you can actually compensate for something else if you don't have enough to invest and you want something for the other items. Regarding the aiming speed, I just want to see the difference. So this is with the item, so this is like supposed to be faster. All right, now let's change it. Let's choose the default one. As you can see, there is difference. For many, this would be the difference between killing and not killing an opponent. Under barrel, by far, I'm going to go with the 6H64 vertical, which enhances recoil control with the penalty for handling. In many cases, you don't want to move while shooting because the spread is going to be really bad. And in many cases, when you die, you notice that people just stop, aim, again, towards the upper body, and also preferably that the recoil will just go up and hit the head as well. Or you can just, of course, aim to the head and move the mouse down just to compensate for the recoil. This is probably the best way, but it takes a bit of practice until you get used to it. So we're going to test it out. I'm just going to remove everything. And again, the focus is going to be on the under barrel so you can see how it plays. So this is without under barrel. Again, I'm not compensating for anything. One, again, ADSing, and the other one from the hip. So you can see from the hip is kind of all over the place. So definitely this is not the place you want to use it, again, from the hip, because there's, again, nothing in there to actually continue and improving except from, again, using it as an engineer, which I'm using it right now. Second, we're going to go with the folding vertical. Slight recoil, but at the cost of mobility. I mean, aiming while actually moving. All right, let's shoot with, again, ADS. You can see that the grouping is better. It doesn't really go up as much, means that recoil is controlled. And then from the hip, well, all over the place. Because here it's also kind of spread from the bottom, which is not good. Again, if you're ADS and you want good group, it's a good one. But not great. Again, if you try to move and shoot, forget about it. This is if you're doing it a lot in the game and you guys can say why you're actually not getting the kills. Well, probably now you know. The vertical is better compared to the previous one because there's better recoil control. However, again, same at the cost of aiming while moving. ADSing. Good group, but again, it's a bit for the top. Yeah, it's going to be a bit different. And then from the hip, you can see all over the place. But still, the grouping will be better, but there's going to be a cost for it when you're actually shooting while moving. And you are very likely not to kill someone if they're actually just maybe shooting at you while actually they are static, standing still, while you actually try to shoot them while you actually move. If it happens to you a lot, well, that's the reason. Now here in the 6A64, you're going to get again extra weapons wave, but again, it's not going to be that penalty for the moving while shooting compared to the previous ones. Alright, so let's take a look here. Alright, good grouping, even smaller compared to the other ones, I would say. Again, I'm making sure that I'm shooting from the same distance near the car. And this is from the hip. Also seems better, by the way, from the hip. Tighter grouping compared to the other ones, quite significant. And if I move and shoot, much better, much better. The other ones were just all over the place. So this one gives you great advantage, both recoil control, I think even better grouping with when shooting ADS, and also significant grouping accuracy when shooting while moving. So overall, this one wins for me compared to the other ones by far. Now the next one, the slim angle might be good because again, it gives you slight recoil control, but at the cost of aiming speed, which the result you can actually see here. Let's ADS. Right, good grouping as you can see, good recoil control. Of course, I'm not compensating here, and shooting from the hip. Also pretty good. So this one is also good in my opinion. Let's try again, ADS. Again, I'm not compensating. Now I'm going to compensate. I'm going to move the mouse button, so the mouse downwards, so you can see you can get very tight grouping with it if you compensate with the mouse. The last one allows you to weapon to be fired while sprinting. Now personally, I actually prefer not using it. Again, if I'm sprinting and shooting, it's going to be pretty bad anyway. And overall, the results for this one are not as impressive, of course, compared to the others. This is really, if you prefer that type of playstyle, well, it's good. But overall, as you can see, it's not a recommended one in my opinion, unless you really prefer playing that way. And some people are, rushing, sliding, and shooting. That's their type of gameplay. Maybe in some maps it's going to work, but for me, it doesn't. I personally prefer not using it. Now, regarding the magazine, I recommend going for the second one. It has 30 bullets, not 36 as the last one, but you have faster reloads, and it's quite significant if you're in the heat of the battle. That extra really helps. Although in many situations, you're going to switch to pistol anyway, so it's up to you to decide whether it's worth it for you. In close quarter combat, you really don't have time for this. You're going to switch to your pistol anyway fast in order to get the elimination if you didn't get it the first time. With the bullets, well, if you aim to the head and you have good accuracy with it, go with the third one. If not, you can even go to the first one, but just make sure, again, to compensate that for something else to improve, because you're going to get the extra for not investing in the third one. So if most of the time you see that, on the side that you're actually hitting the body, you probably want to invest in something else. But if you feel like you are getting insta-shot, it's those players who are actually using it and also aiming to the head, and it can just drop you very quickly. The top accessory for changing, well, I'm not using it. You can use it to switch between, again, a scope for short range and mid-range. Here I'm just using two, but you can choose the other one for long range. Let me show you. So if you want to focus on headshots, for example, we want to make sure you're aiming properly. You might want to actually go with it and also go with the increment of the headshots. For example, let's choose ×4, right? So here I can actually switch between the two, even while I'm actually reloading, by the way. It's much easier to get these headshots compared to the other one, which is kind of more general. So if you're focusing on headshots, you might want to use it, or again, just choose it as a main scope. Depends on the map, on the mode, and your preferable playstyle. Regarding the scope, I prefer something that is as clear as possible. This is kind of, the bezels there are just too large, and I prefer not using it. For example, the OSA 7 ×1, it's very clear, as you can see. So I prefer using it, less distractions. If you go with the 1.5, you can see that in terms of bezel, it's just, more distracting, but again, you get slightly clearer view. This is CCO ×2. You can see you're really giving up here in terms of visibility, but getting a closer view. This is DVO ×5. You can see that it's much easier to get those headshots if you have this, but in close quarters, when you're very close to enemies, it's not ideal. It's better off to just go with the second SMG, which is more versatile and give you better results for mid-range. Although, by the way, I was pretty surprised how good it is actually for mid-range as well, although this actually aimed for close quarters, the SGX, but with some mixed results. This is the BF2M times 3. I like this scope, but again, not on this weapon. Now here, of course, I'm pretty sure it's going to be personal preference for many players. So again, you're going to choose the one that you feel that's going to be best for you. I told you that I prefer one with this is a clearer view and 1.0, especially for close quarters combat. But still, I would say highly recommend checking the silencer as well. I mean, I was able to shred corners with lots of enemies. They have no idea where I'm actually at. I mean, at least not the beginning. And I was able to do well with it. So I'll recommend give it a shot, because in certain situations, it's just a godsend having a silencer rather than having being without. Because if they don't have like a visual cue where you're actually located and they look at the map, they can't find you, you can really kind of, wreak havoc in certain situations. I just want to add that if you go with the accessory, top accessory for improving the hip fire, you can also see that there's an option to press T. Now you can see that the line, the green one, this can actually be visible for others. So they can spot you. I, for example, saw just a green light coming from the side and know that an enemy was there and was able to eliminate him. So just watch out for that. But you can switch between that, and you can see it's much easier to aim towards a certain location where it's more the cursor is kind of more closed. But you can switch between them with just pressing T. All right. So if you want to benefit from it, you can just toggle it on and off. And just so you know, you can also switch to single shots and automatic shots by pressing B on the keyboard. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you find this one useful, give a like and also consider subscribing. And if you have anything to add in the comment section below, thanks for watching.